Hi. Hello, everybody. Um, let's see. Who do we have here? Oh, hi. I spent a couple of days here before this conference. I was teaching elastic leadership and objectivity, and I see many familiar faces. I see at least 12 Piotrs that were in my course. Piotr A, B, and C. You know who you are. We also got to play some football. Yesterday, they took us to a speaker dinner. The funny thing was they made us make the dinner. So that's how you save on cost. I like that. This is really what happened during the dinner. We had to chop up steaks. It did not go well. Radek, where are you? Anyway, so this is real sauce on my hand. Steaks were pretty good though. Okay. I have a question for everybody. Who here is a leader? Raise your hand if you're a leader of some sort. A team lead, a project manager, a scrum master, something with the word leader in your role. Anyone? Just raise your hand. Raise your hand if you want to be one. Raise your hand if you want to stop being one. Okay, that was actually like 10 of you. Okay, next question. Raise your hand if you are a bottleneck. Okay, I'll just explain for a second. Some people know they're bottlenecks. A bottleneck is someone who has specific knowledge in their team. They're also what we call bus factors. A bus factor, basically, is how many people have to get hit by a bus for the team to stop working, okay? A bus factor of 1 is the worst. So, how many people here are bus factors or bottlenecks? If you're on vacation, the team can't stop working. Okay, no way, it's only like the speakers. Here's really what's going on. In most teams, they're made up of bottlenecks, especially if you're in the new Agile organization. And in the Agile organization, you have feature teams. Are you working in a feature team today? Okay, a feature team is a team made out of experts. And those experts, each one knows one specific thing. There's the person that knows mobile development, the front end, the back end, database, whatever. And these people together form a team that can solve kind of most issues. But inside the team, really, there are maybe 5 small teams. 5 different people talking to each other, basically knowledge silos. So my question about being a bottleneck is, if you are one of those people who are an expert, who's designated as a decision maker in a specific topic, it means you're also the single point of failure if you're not available, which means you're a bottleneck. Now, most bottlenecks would not describe their job as a bottleneck. They would describe their job as, I'm an expert, okay? What we're trying to achieve here is the idea of leadership. And what I'm trying to say is, if you're a bottleneck, you are potentially also a leader. Even if your job is not officially to lead other people, if you're an architect, if you're the tester in the team, if you're the UX person in the team, it doesn't matter really. If you have an expertise that only you master in the team, and only you are the single point of entry for decision making in that, you could potentially be a leader. So all this sounds kind of weird. I mean, what's the point? Why do I claim that you could be a potential leader? What's the point of being a leader? What's the role of a leader? Right? So those of you who were appointed, what is your role as a leader? How do you measure your success? How do you measure that you're doing a good job? And that's one of the things that when I became a team lead, about 20 years ago, and I was working in VB6 when that happened, I didn't have any information of what I'm supposed to do with my team. All I had was, hey, here's your team, here's a project, you have 3 months to finish it, it's gonna take you 8 months to finish it, but you should deliver in 3 months and finalize the project. Good luck. And there I was a good programmer, but I had no idea how to lead the team. So I was standing there with a bunch of people who really kept switching. They would switch people on my team. They would move them in and out. And I had no idea what to do as a leader. How do I measure that I'm doing a good job? Is it only about delivery? So for 3 months, I made mistakes and I tried different things. I told my team, you know what? We know we're going to fail. We know we're going to fail. We knew on the first day this project was going to fail. Has that ever happened to anyone here? On the first day, you knew the project was going to fail. Okay, and some of you are afraid of saying it. But what do you do if you know that you're in a death march, that you're about to face the end of the project and there's no way it's going to be ready? There's a decision that has to be made. How well do you fail? And we decided as a team, we're going to fail in the best way possible. I told my team, look, I'd rather fail for the right reasons than for the wrong reasons. I'd rather fail because we invested time in testing, we invested time in learning, we invested time in trying new things, than by failing because we didn't do all of those things. It's going to fail anyway, but at least I can be proud looking myself in the mirror. And that was my first realization that as a team lead, I needed a set of values, something that I can turn to when no one else will tell me what the hell is supposed to happen right now. Because one of the things that I realized is in the software world, because it's relatively very, very new, nobody really knows how everything is supposed to happen. Nobody really knows what is the perfect way to develop software, what is the perfect way to deliver on time with quality. Nobody really knows how to handle a lot of different issues between people. So the best we can do is to improvise and adapt and experiment and assume that as long as we experiment and we try new things, we're going to get better slowly. We might not solve everything, but at least there's a set of values that we can turn to. When the world around us is running like headless chickens because everything has gone to hell and there are a million types of fires to fix, what do we do? How do we make decisions? And this is really what this talk is about. This talk is about what is my role as a leader or a potential leader. How do I conduct myself in the team when no one else knows what to do? When I'm expected to know what to do. So here's what I believe. I believe that our role as leaders is to make ourselves unneeded. Right? The way I measure my success as a team lead is to see how much people need me. I know it sounds really weird. But if my team needs me to solve all of their problems, which is really what I did at the beginning when I was a team lead, I would be the guardian, I would be the Superman of the team. There's a problem? Okay, let me code something until 2 in the morning, I'll come back, here's your code, you're welcome. Oh, someone is coming to you with requirements, I'll hold them off. You continue coding, I'll provide the cover for you. Right? I was that kind of a guardian angel kind of thing. But really what I was doing is I was making myself invaluable to the team. I was making myself the biggest bottleneck for the team ever. Because I couldn't just go on vacation. I couldn't just have my cell phone without any battery. I couldn't, get hit by a bus, which I really wanted at some point in that project. I made myself indispensable, but it also made my life horrible. Because I was doing everything for everyone else, instead of teaching other people to solve their own problems. So the team that spent months and sometimes years with me, when I was doing that, I gave them nothing, really. I didn't teach them new things. I didn't challenge their skills. They came out maybe after a year working with me, the same team that they were a year before. They were not better programmers. They were not better developers. They did not know how to handle different types of work in the company. Maybe they learned a couple of technologies, but really, they were not actually learning anything new. They were just sitting there like rats in a cage, coding, and just waiting for me to feed them new code and new ideas. They say that you have to really be afraid, not of the person with 20 years experience, but a person with 1 year experience repeated 20 times. And sometimes you see those people in our industry. People who have spent their entire coding life in a specific situation, in a specific piece of knowledge. They don't know anything else. They will never know anything else because they're so ingrained in a specific piece of thing. They're basically like a statue in the past. They're there. That's all they do. That's all they know. There's a box around them. And that's the way it is. Now, do we want to be that? And I think that the answer is no. How do we actually achieve learning those new skills if we keep protecting the team? So my belief is that if I want to be a good leader, it doesn't matter if I'm appointed or if I'm an architect or a tester, then my role is to make the people around me think like I think. The best team that I can think of is a team of team leaders. What is a truly self-organizing team in an agile way? A team that can solve all their own problems. A team that can tackle any issue and just know what is the right thing to do. What is the thing that you're supposed to do from now on, and what do you do when you don't know what to do? Right? You approach your team leader. But your team leader usually knows what is the next step. But what if we had a team of team leaders? You could technically leave them alone in a room and they'll figure things out. They'll know how to contact, they'll know how to raise things if there's an issue. So if I'm a team leader, my wish is to grow a team of team leaders. If I'm an architect, then I measure my success by growing a team of people who think like architects. If I'm a tester, I want to teach people testing a way of thinking. Because if I'm not available, I want them to be able to do the things that I taught them how to do without me. So, if our main goal is to grow the team around us to solve their own problems, what's going to happen to us? What's our job when nobody needs us? And that's the thing that usually scares a lot of people. I've had programmers tell me, I don't want to be a teacher, I don't want to teach other people. Just let me do the thing that I really like. And what I've seen in the past is that the more you teach other people, actually the more valuable you become. You will always have a job growing other people. So imagine you're the head of the company and there's this person you can put in a specific team and they make the team better, right? The first thought you should have in your head is, of course, not this person has no value in this company, right? It should be, oh, I like the way this person works. I'll put them now in this team and in that team. And maybe that person now can create a system of learning for the rest of the teams. So usually what happens is that you go up one level, either in promotion or in just the way you work. Instead of focusing on one team, you're now focusing on an idea, on a set of principles. What is the thing that you're bringing? So you will always have a more valuable role because the effect that you have is not just going to be on a specific team or one project, it's going to be on all the people in that project. Which means that when they go on to other projects, the things that they learn from you will also go to those other projects. So you're affecting a lot of other projects just by teaching those people. Your effect range is much bigger. And in a big effect range is basically what a leader truly is someone that can make change last not only in themselves, but in other people as well. But there's a basic risk associated with not teaching people and not growing their skills. One of the most basic things is, if you have a bunch of bus factors in your team, it's very likely that your company is in a huge risk. The project is in a huge risk. I was in a project once where, it was actually in Norway, a big insurance company, and 70 developers on a project, and there was this one guy who basically ran the build process, right? So whenever they had a release or a deployment, this person was the person who did the whole thing. Everything was in his head. He worked there for 7 years. And one day, he decided, you know what? I kind of want to do something else. I think I'm going to work on other things than the build. I think I'm going to quit the company. And the day after he left, people looked around and said, we need a build. Can anyone here release? And everyone looked and said, no, not my job. No idea how to do it. That was that guy. And so for 3 weeks, the company was stuck, not able to release a product, not able to deploy the product onto the servers. It got so bad that they actually had to bring the person back, triple their pay as a consultant, put a webcam in front of his laptop and a microphone, and had him do the entire deployment procedure for 3 days as he was talking through. They were recording everything. What are you doing now? Oh, I'm putting the script. I'm running the XSLT. I'm doing this. They had to record the whole thing so there would be knowledge transfer, right? This is an example of something that seems very, very, maybe very extreme, but it's not. It only takes 1 or 2 people with a specific amount of knowledge for the team to not be able to release something. So that's a huge risk. Another thing that happens when you grow people to solve their own problems is that you yourself have more time to do the thing you've always wanted to do. So if you've always focused on solving other people's problems, instead of learning that new technique, those new ideas, exploring some new worlds, going back into coding maybe, now you can actually have more time, learning how to sometimes delegate, sometimes to coach, and sometimes to get people to solve their own problems instead of depending on you, can actually make much more free time for you. And when you have more free time to think and to develop, you become better. And of course, the team is more effective because everyone can help. Doesn't have to be perfect, but everyone can kind of help. For example, mobile development checks in some piece of code. Who does the code review? If they're the only person in the team that knows how mobile development works, they have to wait maybe for someone on another team to do code review, assuming that they do the code review. If no one does the code review, that's even worse. But if we pair program and we teach each other, it doesn't have to be perfect, but we can start doing code reviews for each other. Even on small things, slowly but surely, we learn other skills from different people. And of course, the next reaction that I usually get when I say to people, yeah, let's grow other people, people say, yeah, that's great. However, in my specific team, I like your ideas, Roy, don't get me wrong. I would like to do them. Great. In my current team, I'm not sure it's a great idea. There's this 1 or 2 people, I know what's going to happen when I'm going to ask them to do. I know what's really. So maybe on the next team, I'm probably going to give it a try. Not on the current team. But here's the realization that I had as well, because I managed quite a different number of teams. You will never get the perfect team. You will never get the team that you wish you had. You will always get a team of people with different experiences and different knowledge in technology or otherwise. There will always be variation. There will always be different psychological issues for some people. There will always be something, because people are complicated. If we could get rid of people in the software business, it would be so easy. But we are stuck with people, unfortunately. People are the worst. They're so complicated. You say to a person something, they say, yeah, and then they go around and they do the opposite. Why do they do that? We have no idea. Software, you say an if true, do this, if false, do that. It does it. That's how we became team leaders. We know how software works. But people don't work that way. So, what are we supposed to do? What is, again, our role as leaders? Our role is to grow the team we would like to have from the team we currently have. So, on a day-to-day basis, I'll ask myself, is the team getting better? It doesn't have to be perfect. On a day-to-day, on a week-to-week, is the team owning a new skill now? Is someone learning something? Is someone gaining a new skill? Did we learn something this week that we didn't know the other week? And if there's no learning, then I'm not doing my job as a leader. And again, it doesn't have to be a team leader. It could be an architect, a tester, a mobile developer. If I'm a mobile developer and no one has learned anything from me in the team in the past week, maybe I'm not doing my job right. I'm not teaching other people, I'm not coaching other people. And you know what? Teaching and coaching is difficult. And it's not fun sometimes, especially if you're not used to it. But maybe in our role as experts, as leaders, we have to learn how to do that too. It's not just about coding anymore. We would like to create a team of team leaders. Really, that is the ultimate thing, because when we have a team of team leaders, we have the perfect self-organizing team. Every Scrum course and every Agile methodology tells you about the self-organizing team, right? You take these people, you give them a feature, you lock them in a room for 14 days, You come back after 14 days, you say, well, where is my feature team? And the team goes, here you go, sir. That's exactly what happens today, right? Today, really what happens is, and we'll talk about it, is that most teams are not self-organizing. They don't have the skills to self-organize and actually figure out how to develop something from the beginning to the end and not handle all of the related stuff around it, like build and politics and feature changes, etc. And this is where we come in, every one of us, because we can actually do something about it. We can decide that no longer will we be the bottlenecks. We can teach other people so that when the time comes, they can face the same thing that I know how to face. And I can face the same thing that they know how to face. Slowly. It might take a couple of years, actually. But every day, every week is better than what it was. There's an author called Jerry Weinberg. If you've heard his name, raise your hand. Speakers not included. Okay, Jerry Weinberg is a very wise person. He wrote like 50 different books. Some of them are actually about software development. And one of them is called Managing Teams Congruently. I had to look up the word congruent, but it actually means goes with the flow, actually connects to the essence of the thing you're trying to do. And in that book, he talked about the idea that leadership done right is a tough job. Okay? So if you're doing it correctly, it's difficult. But a lot of leaders, right? That's why you get paid more. It's tough. A lot of leaders like to take the money and not do all the hard parts. So what are the hard parts in leadership? What's the difficult part? I'll give you a hint. It is not writing code. It is not integrating code. It is not merging branches. Where are the hard parts in leadership? It's between people. It's between having conversations with people. It's about taking chances, about saying the truth instead of telling people what they want to hear. This will take you 1 week. Okay. But you know it's going to take you 1 month. That's also type of leadership. Being able to actually say really what's going on. Not being afraid of it. Or you know what? Being afraid but saying it anyway. Because if nobody says it, nothing changes. So, if leadership done right is a tough job, and our role as a team leader is to grow people, how do we grow people? How do we actually grow ourselves? That's the big question, because if we know how we grow, how we learn new skills, we can teach others new skills. So this is from a different book by Jerry Weinberg called Becoming a Technical Leader. Highly recommend that book. And in that book, he was still is, an avid player of the pinball game. You know the pinball game? You have the 2 buttons in the side, you have the ball running and goes ding, 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 getting a bunch of points. I used to play that a lot as a child. This person is a true geek. And he mapped his progress and scores throughout the years of how much better he gets in that game. So, he plotted his progress in the game. And here's what he saw. He saw that over time, he gets better. I mean, that is so surprising, right? You play something for a long time, you get better at it. That's crazy. So, when he zoomed in, when he actually plotted more points, what he saw is that something weird was happening. There were periods of plateaus. That is very, very slow progress. Right? If we, can you see that? I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if you can see that. No. I was trying to map that. Anyway, there are periods of slow progress where you can actually tell the lines are kind of straight. And then there were periods of very, very fast growth where he became almost overnight much better than he was in the game. So he started looking into this. Why are there periods where I become much better, faster, and periods of plateaus where I get very, very little progress done? And he realized that those fast periods of growth happened when he learned something new about how to play the game. When he realized that there maybe was a different strategy of how the game should be played. For example, if you have more than a single ball in the game at the same time, you get double points. Okay, that's cool. That's a good strategy. So he started playing this way, and he got many more points, obviously. So every time he figured something new about how to even approach the game, he became a much better player. So far, so good. But when he plotted the points even more, he saw that before he got better, he actually got worse. Because he had to learn how to play in the new way, right? If you've ever learned a new programming language, or even just one, you know how difficult it is to get the first hello world, the first piece of service out there, the first console application, the first form, the first web page. And if you're doing React, that's a completely different story. I can't help you. React is too complicated for me. Sorry, I tried. But for every type of learning, there is a downwards spiral. And he called it ravines. A ravine is where you have to unlearn something before you learn something else. So at the beginning, he sucked at the game again because he had to play in a different way. And then when he got over this learning curve, he became much better. And he was really a much better player than he was in the previous point. And when I read that in the book, I thought, you know what? This totally reminds me of things in my life, right? He was talking about the fact that these learnings, these ravines happen for every new thing that you learn in life. And I said, you know what? That's absolutely true, because I have 3 kids. And I look at these points, and each point definitely reminds me of one of my kids being born. Because before the first ravine, in this line over here, this is, I don't know if you can see that. This is me and my wife right at the first point with no kids. And we were just cruising through life. No kids, always complaining how we never have enough free time to do the things we really want to do because we were both so busy working. And then our first child was born. And we were in the first ravine right over there. And immediately our life became a living nightmare for a few weeks. Because for a few weeks, we had no idea how to manage this extra person in the house that was never asleep, always eating, and just basically drenching us out of any type of energy we ever had. We were so tired, we couldn't even feed ourselves. People had to bring food to our house. We were like kind of immigrants, like, oh, thank you for feeding us, thank you. And after a few months, it became better, you know? And we were back in the next plateau. We were one version up. And we were different people then because we looked back at the time we never had kids. And we couldn't believe we ever said, we don't have enough free time. Because now we have a child and we get everything we used to do done and even more than that. And so life continued for a couple of years. And bam, in the second ravine is when our second child was born. And immediately life becomes completely different because now it's 2 children. It's 2 against 2. Okay. Before it was one person could go out shopping, another could stay. Now you either leave me with 2 kids or you take a child with you shopping. 2 completely new skills that we've never had to accomplish before. So life was very, very difficult. And then you realize they wake each other up at night. You get one to sleep, takes 2 hours. And then the other one goes like, and then the other one wakes up again. And you go, I don't believe this is happening. So for 3 or 4 or sometimes, 8 weeks, it's a very, very difficult time. You have to get used and again to a different way of life. But by the time you are out of that second ravine, you're a different person. You've learned new life skills. We looked back at the second plateau when we only had 1 child, right? We looked back and said, I can't believe we had 1 child and we couldn't feed ourselves. And we didn't know what to do, and we were just so tired because 1 child now seems so easy, right? With 2 kids, 1 child is like the easiest thing in the world. And don't even talk to me if you don't have kids. And then our 3rd child was born. I have 3 kids, so about 2 years apart. And so the 3rd child was born. Today he's 11. He's the youngest, so whatever. So he's 6. I never said I was good at math. So the 3rd child was born, and now new skills, because now they outnumber you, 3 against 2. No longer can you guard one-on-one like basketball. No longer can you fit everybody in the car with the dog and all the groceries. No longer can you just, go and buy a bunch of plane tickets and just go somewhere. It gets expensive, So life with 3 kids is a completely different life than with 2 kids. So it was very difficult, but we got through it, and then now we look back at the time we only had 2 kids, and it's like different people. I can't believe those people had a problem with 2 kids, because today if my wife takes one of the kids to her parents, and we're just left, I can be left with 2 kids at home, and I'm like, everything is groovy, man. And if you leave me with 1 child, it is as if I do not have kids. Everything just flows. I don't know, it just happens. Everything is okay. I'm not nervous. If there's a problem, I kind of already know what to do. If all the kids are in the house, we already know what to do if one child gets hurt. The oldest one takes care of him, It's the easiest thing. The dog licks the wound. It's okay. But the point is that each and every ravine brought us to be different people, taught us new skills, how to handle things in life. And when we looked back, we couldn't believe we thought all the things we used to think. And if you look back at code you wrote 2 years ago, maybe you have the same thoughts sometimes. I can't believe I ever wrote this type of code, which means you've learned new skills. You're looking at life a bit differently. And if you're learning a new programming language, now you're looking at the same problem with multiple different perceptions, right? There are multiple ways how to solve the same problem. So even though there is a ravine, you know that on the way up, you're going to be a much better developer because you have more skills how to solve different types of problems. So if this is always the thing that happens, if this is a thing that we can assume is going to happen whenever we learn new things, instead of letting it just happen to us, maybe we can plan it. Maybe we can decide to jump into the ravines ourselves, because we know that the discomfort and the frustration and all that stuff is temporary, and then on the way up, we're going to be much better than what we are. If we know that this is temporary, the jumping in, and on the way up, I'm going to be a much better something, then I can start planning my route and learn new skills. In fact, as a leader, maybe I can do the same thing for my team. Maybe I can, gently push someone into a ravine and watch them try to climb out on the other side, a much better developer. Now, I can start planning this. If I'm a team leader, I can literally work on these skills and decide with people what is the skill we want to learn together, and then push them out of their comfort zone and have them do something they've never done before. Because to truly learn, to truly be in a ravine, it has to feel very different. It has to sometimes feel even scary. It's not just like learning a new language in the evening. It has to feel a bit risky, like you're really taking a chance. Because in real life, the ups and downs look like this. Plateaus don't really look like plateaus. There are small ups and downs in everyday life. But the real downs are where you learn something real about your life, something completely new that you didn't even know that you didn't know. Those are the things where you say, okay, what is the best way to learn something? At one point, I was working as a CTO in a .NET company, and I really wanted to understand the Ruby culture and, coding, not just the Ruby language. I wanted to understand the differences in the culture. So the best way to learn Ruby is to actually work in a Ruby team, not just to learn it on the weekend with no risk associated, but actually jumping in and putting yourself in a place where you've never been before. So I quit my job and I became an intern at a Ruby shop. And they handed me my first MacBook Air. I always used the Windows and ThinkPad. I'm not saying I'm like a convert and everything is amazing. I'm just saying it was a completely new experience. So they used MacBook Airs and Vim. Has anyone here ever used Vim? Okay, you have to do like this actually because it's a V. Never mind. I can't believe you actually did that. So here I was learning a new operating system, learning about the world's most hated and loved text editor. It took me a week just to learn how to close it. I was sitting there, my team leader was like, let me just install it for you, da 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 da. Okay, I want you to start taking this and start. I was like, how do I insert and the I and the escape and the thing? it was, for a few months, it was one of the most difficult experiences in my, in work life related. But I decided to do that after I read the book. I decided that I wanted to push myself into a ravine. So I already knew it was going to be very, very difficult. So at one point, I remember myself looking at something and feeling really, really frustrated, saying like, this sucks, I hate this. And then another voice in my head was, this sucks, you're learning so much, this is great. And I hate this, I don't want to do this. You're learning so much, this is great. You're feeling bad, which means you're learning something. 3 months of that, imagine that. 3 months where you just every step is just like kicking a bunch of thorns in the field and you're barefoot. Every day is like walking on broken glass just to get that single line of code and then getting reviewed and knowing that you have no idea what you're doing and slowly, building yourself up from basically zero. And here's the thing. I learned more things about the Ruby culture that I didn't know than I ever would have thought. So I didn't just learn Ruby. I didn't just learn like how to use Git. I learned things about culture that I never would have found out if I didn't do that. For example, I learned that why small commits are so important. Because sometimes when you change things, you have a one commit just for white space changes, and then another commit just for one refactoring. Because looking at the diffs is much easier when you have very, very small commits. And I learned the big difference between a huge piece of code like Visual Studio and a very small, thin piece of code like a Ruby file and a text editor that is very, very thin. Because then you can do things like do remote pair programming over SSH, which you could never have done with a huge tool like Visual Studio. And I noticed that debugging is much worse in the Ruby world and it's much better in the .NET world because the muscles that we use as a community are different types of muscles. .NET developers are really good at debugging because they don't write a lot of tests. And Ruby developers are really good at writing tests, so they really suck at debugging. And the debugging tools in the Ruby world are ancient. It's like taking two stones and trying to make fire. That's what it feels like. Because it's supposed to be painful because you're not supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to be doing something else. It's like fish at the bottom of the sea. It's so dark, they don't need eyes, right? They're just stuck there at the bottom of the sea writing their tests. I'm just saying. I think I went too far with the analogy. Anyway, to grow the team, we have to go through this ourselves. We can't just go to someone in our team and say, hey, here's your ravine jump. No, that doesn't work because if we haven't gone through it, then we won't know what that person is about to experience. It's going to be very difficult for us to even ask the person to do something they've never done before. That's where the leadership and the difficult parts come in. You have to go through this yourself. And I think that for us, for all of us, as leaders, as someone who realizes that they're an expert in something, our growth, our ravine, is to grow other people. Like the difficult part for us is to have that difficult conversation about another person learning a new skill. And for an example that happened to me, one of my biggest growth moments was when I was a new team lead. And I was sitting there, I was working with a team, and one of them was a good friend of mine, but I was now the team lead. And he was a very slow typist, doing everything very, very manually. Everything was right-click copy, right-click paste, open the window just for this. Everything was like, just a saga of mouse clicks. And I was a shortcut person. And I couldn't stand working with the guy, but he was a good friend of mine. I loved being with him, but I couldn't stand coding with him. And as a team lead, I just accepted it. I just thought, you know what? I guess just the way it is. Because I'm never going to talk to this person about this thing that actually causes other people not to want to work with him because he's my friend. And if I talk to him, he will never talk to me again. So I told this to my manager, who was also my mentor. And he said, you know what? This is your ravine. This is where you need to act. Because this is scaring you. Which means it's a real ravine. You're going to learn something by actually doing it. And if you learn something by actually doing it, you should do it. You should find a way to do it, but you should do it. And that actually convinced me, you know what? That is the thing that I need to do, because if I'm always afraid to talk to people, how can I actually lead them? How can I actually do the thing that I believe is the right thing to do for the team? So I decided to go and talk to the person. And, I remember going to the team room and actually opening the door and said, hey, you got a couple of minutes? Let's talk outside. And then we went. I remember my hand shaking. And we went to a meeting room. And I remember just scared as hell from the conversation I'm about to have. And then another side of my head said, you're going to learn something. You're really going to learn something. And that is the only thing that kept me going. Because I really needed to know what is at the end of this ravine. What am I going to find out? Is this what it takes to be a team leader? And the first thing that I asked him is something that I wished he would say yes. I asked him, so how's everything at home? Are there any issues? Because I hoped that I wouldn't have to actually talk to him about this, and there was something else that's bothering him, and then we could completely do a different conversation. So I asked, hey, how's everything at home? Everything okay? And he said yes. And I said, damn it, right? In my head, I was like, no, now we have to have the conversation. And then I asked him this question. If I could tell you could be 5 times faster as a coder, like you could code faster and you could use more shortcuts and stuff, would you want to do that? And he looked at me and he said, yeah, sounds good. What do you want me to do? And that's when I realized that most of the ravine is our fear. It is not the actual thing. Because I realized that most developers want to get better, and they want to learn new skills, and they want people to give them the option to learn new skills. Because at that moment, I realized it was going to be okay. That was the thing that I had to learn. Because that's where the conversation turned to, hey, you know what? Let's give you some homework, just as a coaching. I might as well be teaching him the guitar, okay? The homework was, you know what? I'll give you my software for learning touch typing, and I want you to train on it, and then every week just tell me, what's your words per minute? And on your next daily meeting, tell people, hey, if you see me doing something where I could use a shortcut, tell me. I want to know about it. And he did that. And people were really helpful, and they wanted to help. He was never the fastest coder in the team, right? It's not this Cinderella story. But he was better, and he felt better, and everyone else felt better, and he was getting better. And that's an example of that ravine, of having that hard conversation. I think this is where work really, really, as leadership counts. And of course, I say that, but not one of us has enough time to grow their team. Usually, we're too busy fighting fires. We're too busy, chasing commitments that we've already committed to and we should have delivered, but we're still working on. We don't have time to grow our team. We don't have time to sit and slowly say, look, this is your challenge, slowly practice on this stuff. And this is where the idea of elastic leadership comes in. Because in elastic leadership, the idea is to recognize what is the current situation that our team is in. We want, as leaders, to grow the team. We want the team to be self-organizing, right? And for the team to be able to be self-organizing, they have to learn all these new skills, correct? But if we don't have time to teach those new skills, they will never become self-organizing. So if we're currently in a situation where we don't have time to learn new skills, where we are overcommitted, we're just fighting fires, then our first inclination is to get out of that situation. But we have to recognize it. And I call this situation survival mode. And I think that today, from my experience, 90% of teams today are in what we call survival mode. They're overcommitted, they don't have time to learn new practices, new skills. Even if you send them on a 3-day TDD course with the amazing Roy Osherove, they would come back and they would still not have time to write tests because they're overcommitted. So they would just go back to where they were. You don't have time for slow practice. So the first thing we have to find out is what is the mode that our team is in. 3 modes: survival mode, learning mode, self-organizing. And the type of leadership that we want to express is different in each one. Because in survival mode, we don't have time to learn and practice, and if we don't do anything to get the team out of there, we're never going to get out of there. And it's very easy for teams to stay in survival mode. It's very easy for them to just be where they are, because sometimes teams become really good at fixing fires. they become really good at working until 2 in the morning to fix the thing and get the release done. They're really good at being overcommitted but still delivering, but burning themselves so that in 1 year they're going to quit. So we want to get out of there. In learning mode, we have time and we're slowly practicing new skills. This is where the coaching phase is. And then in self-organizing mode, that's the team of team leaders. We've used the learning mode to become a team of team leaders. So as a leader, my first instinct in the survival mode is to create time for learning. My first instinct in learning mode is to make sure the team is learning and continuously gets new skills. And in self-organizing, it's basically just facilitate the goals of the team and make sure we don't change modes. We could change modes from one day to the other because the reality around us changes. If as a team, I've built the same website 100 times and now building it number 101, we're probably a self-organizing team. You don't need to do too much. You don't need to have a bunch of status meetings. We kind of already know what to do. It's a team that's self-organizing because we've done this before 100 times. But help us connect this laptop, to that chair and then tell me I have a month left, and immediately I'm in survival mode because I'm overcommitted. I have no idea how long it's going to take, and immediately I have a problem. I don't have time to learn how to do this because I'm already supposed to deliver it. So recognizing if we're in survival mode or learning mode and self-organizing and treating the team correctly is the key principle here. Because I've seen Scrum implementations fail because the coaches or the leaders, they treated a team that's in survival mode as if they're self-organizing, right? They come into the team and say, we have the next iteration, 14 days, I'm going to lock you in this room, I'm going to come back. The team is in survival mode. They're running around like headless chickens. They're doing whatever they need to do. So you come back after 14 days, the team goes, we're hungry, we haven't eaten for 14 days, we have nothing to deliver because we were too busy fixing all our past mistakes. So that's treating a survival mode as if everything is okay, everything is self-organizing. The other way around also hurts. You take a team that is self-organizing and you treat them like they're in survival mode. So I've seen this also, like the leader or the scrum master would come in and say, okay, we're going to do the daily meeting, everybody stand up. Okay, what did you do yesterday? What are you going to do today? Anything stopping you? No. Okay, good. You, what did you do yesterday? Just like an army kind of person. Everything is like full of these rituals. And for a self-organizing team, all these rituals, they're just wasting time. The team has already spoken way before the stand-up meeting. They already know what they're doing. They've already started. They're actually working on the next thing. And all this meeting is doing is just wasting their time. So you're going to burn them because you're treating them like children at that point. Right? So survival mode is the ship is sinking. The captain does not call a meeting. The captain gives orders. You want to get out of survival mode? You have to be more command and control. But if you're in learning mode, don't be a dictator. Teach them, be a coach, give people the ability to make mistakes. That's how people learn. Don't change those. In survival mode, you have to make tough decisions so that you can get out of survival mode, like re-estimation, tough decisions of talking with management, talking with people, changing roles. But don't do that in learning mode because you're not going to teach people anything. Sometimes teams have time to learn, but they don't learn anything. So everyone just goes off on whatever they want, but the team doesn't learn the skills that they need to actually survive in the real world, to become a team of team leaders. And this is the manifesto that I wrote because this is the set of values that I believe in as a team leader. So no matter what happens to me in any type of situation as a leader, if I have no idea what I'm doing and nobody else around me has no idea what I'm doing, I always go back to these principles. And these principles basically say that we believe that great teams are grown, they're not hired. We believe in challenging ourselves and our teams to become better. We believe in just-in-time adaptive leadership style and participating in human interaction. So whatever happens, if I'm doing these things, I feel like I'm doing the right thing. For example, we're in chaos, the project is late, is my team getting better? Or am I in survival mode and I'm not saying the truth? I'm not really saying what is the real estimate? I'm not doing my job. Am I actually working on getting my team out of survival mode? If not, I'm not doing my job. Are we actually learning new skills in learning mode? Are we actually becoming better and better every day? And if not, I'm not doing my job. No matter what else. A consultant comes in for 3 days, they're part of the team. They're going to learn new skills as well. I don't care they're here for 3 days. That is the way we operate. Someone tells me, I don't want to be a teacher in this team. I tell them, in this team, we always learn new things and we teach other people. That's just the way we work in this team. If you want to be part of my team, this is the way we work. So I have a set of values that I believe in. You don't have to have the same set of values, but you do have to have some. You do have to have something that you go back to that's your moral compass. The thing that you believe in, when everything else around you fails and burns, how do you know you're doing the thing you're supposed to do? Because no one else will tell you, no one else will tell you exactly what is the right thing. We keep learning ourselves. Okay. You can find out more at 5wise.com/manifesto. We can find more information on everything I just said at 5wise.com, which is the blog that I wrote for team leaders. There's a book called Elastic Leadership that I just finished writing. And we do have a couple of minutes left, right? Okay, so I want to do a short experiment. I want to jump into a ravine myself. And for that, I'm going to do a short song. I have a guitar here. But for the short song, I need a volunteer. Because I have the words on the screen, I need someone to press space while I sing the words. So who wants to be a volunteer? Who wants to jump into the ravine and learn a new skill, which is pressing space on a laptop? Who wants to be famous? Okay, sir, come in. What's your name? Paul? Paul, please give your hand. Hand to Paul. You want to climb up or you want to go around? That was amazing. I could never have done that. Okay, first of all, Paul, thank you very much for helping. Is it Paul? Yeah. Okay. Or Pavel? Pavel, I knew that. So first of all, Pavel, don't touch anything. Now that's a leadership. Okay, I'm just going to connect this thing. No, he's not going to sing.
Okay. No problem.
Okay. So, first of all, can you guys hear me? Hello? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do an integration test. We're going to test your skills, okay? I have a demo song, so we can see that when I sing something, when I finish the line on the page, you press space, okay? A short song. Good start. This is a test line. Can you guys actually see me, or do you see the words on the screen? Hey, video guys, put the slides on the screen. Okay. It looks like you're doing just fine. It's time for a song of mine. Okay, that was pretty good. Okay, ready? So, what this song is about, you probably want to know, Pavel, right? Yeah. So ask me, what is the song? So what is the song about? Great question. So, this song... No, it was an amazing question. Let me answer. This song is about a team leader that I had a long time ago. Actually my manager. I was trying to get the team to write a bunch of unit tests and stuff like that. And he would not like it at all. So every time he would fight me on it. Don't go back. You're breaking the whole point. Go back. Just press left arrow. Don't do anything. Don't do anything. Just don't touch it. You're breaking the whole presentation. Pavel. Just kidding. Everything's good. Okay, so anyway, so this is a song dedicated to him. If he would write a song for me, this is what he would say, okay? Don't do anything yet. Every build you break, refactoring you make, every mock you fake, you'll little snake, I'll be watching you. Every stand-up meeting, I believe you're cheating. Every unit test. Jesus. Pavel, look. We're gonna be right here, okay? You're doing a good job, man. You're learning a new skill right now.
I know.
How does that ravine feel?
Really good.
It's working, people. Every stand-up meeting, I believe you're cheating. Don't touch anything. Every unit test pains my chest. I'll be stopping you. Okay, now. Oh, can't you see? This is nothing comes for free. Just wrote it last night. Every test you write is a waste of bytes. Go. Every iteration, continuous integration. Now the clients hear everything they hear. Man, it bothers me. Oh, can't you see? This is scaring me. It would be so strange if my job would change. Every build you break, every mock you fake, every test you break, I'll be watching you every single day. Go word you say, every game you play, I'll be watching you. Thank you very much, everybody. Pavel, thank you very much, sir. You're welcome too. Okay, so thank you very much.
Great.
I'm just going to put this here.